welcome back to my channel, Beautiful Minutia. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany, and today I am sharing my March TBR with you. I am calling this a TBR, but I should probably call it more of a pile of possibilities because the chances of me actually getting to all of these books this month is very slim, although I really want to get to all of them. If you've been a part of the booktube community for very long, then you know March is a month that is filled with so many incredible readathons, and I always want to participate in all of them. So some of the most notable ones for March are, of course, Middle Grade March, which is one of my favorite reading events of the entire year. Then we also have March Mystery Madness and March of the Mammoths, and I'm kind of participating a little bit low-key in all of those, but my main participation is Middle Grade March for sure, although I am reading some Mammoths this month also. Some of the middle grades that I'm reading qualify as mysteries, so maybe that's technically having me be a part of March Mystery Madness, but I really had to prioritize which readathons I wanted to participate in. Plus I have some buddy reads going on this month as well. Since I have so many books, I have like so many over there and some that I'm still waiting to come in from the library and some that I have on Kindle or audiobook. I am gonna have timestamps listed in the descriptions below, so that way if you wanna skip around for my TBRs for specific readathons, you can, because this will primarily be a middle grade March TBR. Let's start with my March of the Mammoths TBR. March of the Mammoths is basically just reading any book I think that is over 800 pages or so, and I have 3 books that qualify for that, all of which I would like to read in March. The first one is a buddy read that I am reading with Kate Howe and our friend Jess, who has an amazing Bookstagram account. We are reading Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. Gone with the Wind is not a book that I actually ever thought that I would pick up. I've never watched the movie, I've never had any interest in watching the movie, and so I never really had an interest in picking up the book either. But this is a book that Kate Howe really likes, and she is rereading it for, I think, the 3rd time maybe, and she convinced me to come along with her this time because I read Vanity Fair back in September, and while there were elements to it that I really enjoyed, I felt like it was too long, too drawn out, and I felt like some of the characterization was just very frustrating because it felt repetitive and like it kept following the same cycles over and over again. She told me that Gone with the Wind is actually inspired by Vanity Fair, which I had no idea, and she said the characterization and the storytelling is much better. So I am going to give it a try. It's interesting because I felt like Vanity Fair was too long and too drawn out, and Gone with the Wind is over 300 pages longer than Vanity Fair. So I really don't know what that's gonna mean for me reading this, but I'm gonna give it a chance. I have had some people tell me that they hate it. I've had some people say that it was very compelling storytelling, and so I've heard different things from different people. I am going into it with the knowledge that this does have some very racist content and definitely romanticizes the South in a way that it does not need to be romanticized. I do think that just because a book has that kind of content doesn't mean that you can't read it and still try to look for its literary merit. I definitely did that with Huckleberry Finn a couple of years ago. So when I know that that content is there strongly going into it, that actually helps me to work through it a little bit better rather than just being blindsided by it. So I'm gonna give it a try. Another Mammoth, also a buddy read that I am reading in March, starting in March, but I'm not planning to finish it in March. I'm planning to finish it in April, and that is Middle March by George Eliot. And we're actually starting this in the middle of March. Like, what more perfect time to start Middle March than the middle of March? I am reading this with Stephanie from Miss Richards Reads and Kate from the Literary Apothecary. I am so excited to read this with these ladies. Stephanie has become one of those scary tome buddies for me because we read War and Peace together last year, and Middle March is one of those that has really intimidated me in the past because of its size and because I had heard some conflicting things about it. But I do have a couple of friends who have read this recently, this year, and actually said that there was lots of drama in it. I was worried that maybe it's going to be too boring, but the way that they talked about it makes me think that it definitely won't be. So that makes me that much more excited to read it. Plus, if I get to read it with Stephanie and Kate, then it's even better. So I'm really looking forward to diving into this one. This is actually only going to be the second George Eliot I've ever read. I read Silas Marner when I was a kid and then recently reread it like a year and a half or 2 years ago, something like that. And that's still the only George Eliot that I have read. So I'm really looking forward to trying what is probably considered her most iconic work. And The Last Mammoth. Will I actually start and finish this in March? I don't know. That's Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. I don't know. How long is this? Oh, it's like 700 pages. Does that count as a mammoth? I don't know. This is on my 5-star predictions list because Assassin's Apprentice is the first book in this trilogy. And it was my favorite book of the year last year. And everyone tells me that the books just keep getting better in that series. So I'm really excited to pick this one up. I hope I like it. I hope my heart is prepared because Robin Hobb just makes me cry. So this is a fantasy, in case you couldn't tell from the cover. And I don't even really know what this one is about, to be honest. It's following the same characters. The first character, which is a boy, Fitz, who is the bastard son of a prince, and he is learning different magic systems and things that exist in this world, and I don't really know where we're going from here. So I'm interested to see where Hobb takes this one. Okay, so those were my mammoths. So let's dive into middle grade. I'm going to try to get through these a little bit faster just because I don't want this video to be forever long. So one of the prompts for middle grade March is a book that was published in the last year. And so it's been a little while since I have read that much middle grade. I read some last year, but I didn't read a ton. And so there's quite a few that have come out that I've kind of been waiting for middle grade March. So I have that much more of an excuse to read them. So I have a little stack here of books that have come out in the last year. So the first one that I have here is The Last Mapmaker. This is by Christina Soontornvat. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly or not. This is a Thai-inspired fantasy. I don't know if it has like Thai mythology stuff in it, but it is kind of rooted in the Thai culture as far as I know. And it's about a young girl who I think her father has to do with making maps or is a sailor in general. And so that's kind of where this is going. I don't know where else it's going, but I really wanted to read it ever since I heard some people talk about it, and I love the cover. I think it's beautiful. It also would fit the middle grade March prompt for sea or sky on the cover because it has sky and sea both. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one. This is probably one of the ones that I'm most excited about. Another book that I am looking forward to reading is Solimar, The Sword of the Monarchs. This is by Pam Munoz Ryan. Pam Munoz Ryan has written some amazing middle grade books. I know Echo is a lot of people's favorites of hers, which is a historical fiction that takes place during World War II. My favorite of hers is Esperanza Rising, which is a historical fiction as well. This is not, I don't think. This is more, I don't know if it's really that historical in general, but it is a fantasy that is set in, I think, South America. It's about a young girl who's about to celebrate her quinceañera, and something happens and she receives some sort of magical gift or something at her ceremony. So I don't really know what all this one's going to entail. This one is actually super short compared to some of the other ones. So I'm looking forward to giving it a try. Another book that was published in the last year is Maisie Chen's Last Chance. And this is about a young Chinese girl, and they move to, I want to say it's Minnesota or Michigan, something like that, to help out an ailing grandparent, and she ends up helping out at a Chinese restaurant. This was a Newbery nominee, and actually, So was The Last Map Maker. And then I also am waiting for it to come in at the library, Free Water, which was actually the Newbery winner, which is a book about, I think, a brother and sister who are enslaved. I think it might be a free verse novel, but I'm not totally sure. And then I have on Kindle and on audio, Ivy Liz Explains It All. I can't remember who it's written by because I don't have the physical copy with me. This actually deals with a young girl who's starting 7th grade and experiences crippling anxiety, and I'm pretty sure that it is also written in free verse. And that was a Newbery nominee. So I have all the Newbery nominees and I'm really excited to read them. I think this is the last book that I have that was published in the last year. That's Stellarloon, Keeper of the Lost Cities. This is book 9. There are going to be 10 books in this series, and so we're drawing near to the end. This is like probably my daughter's favorite series of all time. Like, she loves it. She's read it so many times. She's read this book so many times. It's the first book that she has ever pre-ordered. She actually used an Amazon gift card from Christmas and pre-ordered this in January of 2022, and it came out at the beginning of November, and she was thrilled. It's over 700 pages long. Actually, she's currently rereading some of it, I think. It's over 700 pages long, and she finished it in like 3 hours. It's crazy. The girl is such a fast reader. So part of the reason I have not continued with this series yet, despite having this book, is that I'm just like a little afraid of how big it is. Though I've read the other ones that are big as well. Just when I have so many books on my TBR, I'm like, do I really want to pick up one that long? So we'll see. If I don't get to this one this month, I will get to it soon. Okay, I lied. I have one more book that was published in the last year, and that's In Myrtle Peril. I have this on Kindle right now from the library, and this is written by Elizabeth C. Bunce. This is book 4 in the Myrtle Hardcastle series. I read the first 3 books last year, and I love this series. I think it's so fun. It's about this young girl who is very precocious and has a little bit too much of a focus on murder and the macabre. Her father is some sort of like attorney or prosecutor or something like that. And so she likes to investigate, and it takes place, I think, in like Victorian type time period. Has lots of fun footnotes. I have buddy read this series with my friend Jess, who I already mentioned, and then also Rainy from Rainy Day Reads. So the 3 of us will be reading that, and I'm so excited to read another book in this series. Nope, I still lied. I have 2 more. My list is not organized, so I'm sorry. I have 2 more that were published in the last year. Most of the books I want to read have been published in the last year. So I have the audiobook right now for Omar Rising, which is by Aisha Saeed. This is a companion novel to Amal Unbound, which is a book about a young girl in Pakistan who wants to become a teacher, and just kind of the hurdles that she is experiencing as a lower class girl in that area. And so Omar is her best friend, and Omar has received, I think, some sort of scholarship to be able to go to some sort of like higher education or more education than what he would normally get in their village. And so this is following his experience there. Amal Unbound is incredible, such a good book. And so I have really been excited to read Omar Rising. And then also I have the Kindle of the group read, which is a rover story by Jasmine Warga. This is about a Mars rover, and I think that he like starts developing some human emotions or something like that. I don't really know. So I'm not really sure what to expect with this one. Sci-fi is not generally my favorite genre, but I do still want to give it a try. So hopefully I'll be able to. Okay, another middle grade March prompt is neurodivergence representation. So I have 2 books for that. One of those is on Kindle, and it's The Many Mysteries of the Finkel Family. And I'm not sure who wrote this, so sorry. I thought the cover was so cute. It's about these 2 girls, these sisters. They are autistic, and they want to start a detective agency, and it just sounded really cute. So looking forward to reading this one. And then I also got a Mango Shaped Space by Wendy Mass. My daughter has really enjoyed some of Wendy Mass's books. I've never read anything by her, but this is about a girl who has, oh, I don't know how you pronounce it. It's like synesthesia. It's basically when words or sounds or music or certain things have like a color or a taste for you. Like there are other senses that are involved. And for this protagonist, I believe it's probably pretty disruptive. I know some people have this and it's not very disruptive. It actually adds things to their lives. And then I think for some people, it can be overwhelming and it can be a lot. And I think that that's the case for the protagonist in this story. Then, because that's not enough, I have a few more over here. So one of these, this is The Silver Chair, C.S. Lewis. This is for Christy Lewis's Classics for Charity book club in March. And I'm really excited to reread this. I don't think I've reread it since I've been an adult, but this was my favorite in the Chronicles of Narnia when I was a kid. So I don't know if it still is as an adult because I haven't reread most of them as an adult. I think the only ones I have reread as an adult are The Magician's Nephew, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and Prince Caspian. So I would have to read more of them probably to see if it's still my favorite, but I love the storyline of this one so much, and I love Puddleglum, so I'm looking forward to rereading this. Another prompt for middle grade March is an award winner, but not a Newbery. So I have a couple here that are award winners. So the first one is Skellig by David Almond, and I don't really know very much about this. I think this is about it's a boy who's having trouble adjusting. I don't know. I think he moves and other things are going on. And he finds this creature in like a garage. And so I don't really know where it goes other than that. Amy from Hearth Ridge, she loved this book and talked about how beautiful the writing was. And very shortly after she said that, I found this at a thrift store and I still have the tag on it. And I was super excited to find a book that I just heard someone talking about. So there's this one. And then the other one, I'm trying to think because I can't remember. It won some award in Germany. That's Momo by Michael Ende. Or is it End? I don't know. This is the author of The Neverending Story, which I also have not read, but I remember enjoying the movie when I was a kid. And this book deals very heavily with the concept of time. So it is labeled as a fantasy, but I kind of wonder if it might cross the line into sci-fi a little bit just because of the time elements. So it might work for a sci-fi prompt as well, although I am reading a Rover story, so I've got sci-fi there too. But yeah, both of these have been sitting on my shelf for close to a year, if not a year, at least 6 months. And both of them are ones that I have really, really wanted to pick up. So I'm hoping that I can get to both of these. And then I think this is the last middle grade. That's The Tiger Rising by Kate T. Camillo. And this is from my Read or Rid project. And I'm reading it with my friend Joanna. I'm super excited to read this with her. I have read most of Kate T. Camillo's backlist. I haven't read all of her newer stuff. And I really like Kate T. Camillo a lot. But I have heard very conflicting things about this one. This is a really old one. I don't know if this is her first novel. I kind of doubt it, but it's not one I ever hear anyone talking about. When I talk about Kate T. Camillo, you hear about Because of Winn-Dixie or Rainy Nightingale and that whole trilogy, or The Tale of Despereaux, which is my favorite of hers, but you don't really hear anyone talk about this one. So there's this boy and he finds a caged tiger in the woods. And I'm assuming there's a girl involved based on the cover. And I'm assuming that the tiger is let loose based on the cover, but I don't really know anything else about it. It's super short. So yeah, I'm happy to knock this off my Read or Rid project as well. So as if this wasn't enough books already, I have 2 more books left and neither of them are all that short. So the first one is actually a buddy read that I am reading with Adrian from Changeling Reader. I'm super excited. This is my first buddy read with him. We will be reading Barchester Towers, which is book 2 in Anthony Trollope's Barsetshire Chronicles. And I read book 1, The Warden, last fall for Victober. And Adrian and I decided to read Barchester Towers together. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one. I've heard, I really enjoyed The Warden, but it definitely wasn't a 5-star book for me. But I've never heard anyone say that The Warden is their favorite in this series. So I think that there's only better things coming ahead in this series. So I'm really looking forward to Barchester Towers. And then for the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge, which is by Chantel Reads All Day, I have been utilizing this to read books off of my Read or Rid challenge. And the prompt for March was the next letter after the book that you read before. So the book in February that I read is Silver Bowl by Diane Stanley. So that would be S. So the next letter would be T. So the book that I chose for that is Troilus and Cressida by Chaucer. And I'm nervous about this, to be honest. I don't really know anything about it. I think I had heard someone talking about it and I picked it up at a thrift store, and it's not that short and it is poetry, which could mean that it's shorter reading, but I'm not typically a huge fan of like epic story poetry. It does say on the front, it says Chaucer's greatest poem by C.S. Lewis is the quote from. And so maybe that's also why I picked it up, knowing that C.S. Lewis liked it, but I'm a little nervous about it. I did find an audiobook version of this, like a dramatization. So I really don't know what I'm gonna think of it. And I'm a little nervous to pick it up, but yeah, so this is the last book that's on my TBR and probably the one that I'm the least excited about. But that is why it's on my Read or Rid list. There you have it. There is my TBR for the month of March. Will I read all these books? I would love to, but I don't know. Obviously, the ones that I am buddy reading with people are ones that I am prioritizing. And a lot of my middle grades are kind of like up in the air, and I hope I get to them, but I don't know if I will. The advantage of them being middle grade is that they are much faster reads most of the time. So I'm hopeful that I can get a lot of them read. I especially would really, really love to read all of the Newbery nominees. That's just something that's really fun to do. And so I'm really looking forward to that. And I guess we'll see. There will be updates on my progress, I'm sure. I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Are you participating in any of the readathons that I'm participating in, or maybe something entirely different? I would love to hear your reading plans. And regardless of whether or not you're participating in a readathon, I would love to hear what is the book that you are the most excited to read in the month of March. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like and also subscribe so you can continue to see more bookish content from me, and I will see you again next time.